Okay, here we are. We're back. We've got a good one. It's going to be interesting. Kristen Schauf, Uncharted Supply Company CEO, amongst other things. I was reading about you yesterday. It's fascinating as hell.
Thanks. Yeah, sometimes I look back at chapters of my life and it feels like something I watched on TV. I'm sure you can relate. But,
Yeah. Well, how old are you?
41.
Gosh, I mean, I'm about to be 39. I've got to do some more shit. Like you're all over the map. It's amazing. Congratulations.
I am all over the map, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it. We all wake up every day, and I think I just have a lot of FOMO, and so I just get myself into stuff. But it's been fun.
I want to get into Uncharted Supply at some point, but you've got this whole other looks like 20 years of your life that I want to talk about. That's unbelievable. So did you grow up in Wisconsin?
I did, man. Yeah, and I'll tell you, I've been a Packers fan since day one. So
Okay.
I won't get into that. But
what are they going to do with Aaron?
I kind of look at that like I look at everything else in the news. I am hearing 1% of probably the truth. So for me, it's entertainment, and I just like to sit back and watch. And I also feel like the playoffs are extra episodes of a season of TV that I love to watch and not get too invested. But it's fun.
I agree.
I think he's going to stick around, though. That's what I think.
I hope he sticks around just for his own legacy. And everything else. Like, he's done most things the right way, and to see him finish it off there just makes the most sense. But Tom left, other guys have left. Like, there's very few anymore that kind of stick around for the duration of their career.
100%. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, it will be. So, grew up in Wisconsin on a farm.
Yeah.
Hunt,
dairy
fish.
farm.
It was a dairy farm.
Yeah, it was a big dairy farm. I never got to play Little League because we had to bale hay, and I ended up at a lot of 4-H cow shows. And if I'm honest, I resented a lot of that growing up. I wanted to be with my friends, but it's definitely affected my life in a good way in the long term. So just grew up kind of Wisconsin upbringing on a farm.
Wow. And then you went to we went to Madison.
Yep.
What'd you study there?
I have 2 degrees there: business management and communications. It's funny, man. When I was going to college to look at colleges, I went with my buddy Brent, and he's like, I don't want to go to Madison. I want to go to a tech school where I can learn a skill and not learn how to have people teach me how to think. And I think the one thing Madison taught me was how to think. I mean, I don't remember much of what I learned in classes, but balancing a highly ranked party school and a highly ranked academic school and sorting through that was probably the best thing that it did for me. So
I mean, you got to learn.
Awesome.
Yeah, you got to learn a lot. I mean, I look back at my college and time management, social skills, all those things, kind of play into it. I don't know if college is for everybody right now, especially with the cost of it, but you learn a lot that kind of carries you through life.
For sure. There's more than just the books in college, and I'm really thankful for that experience. It was awesome.
And then you started a band.
When did sounding random?
It is. I mean, walk me through it. When did the band start?
So I'll take a step back. My family's always been musical. In second grade, my mom found a picture of my dad playing accordion and made me learn accordion at second grade, which wasn't the coolest thing, Went from accordion to piano to saxophone to whatever else. And I broke my ankle playing football and was laid up for several months in high school and bought a guitar and just got a Beatles easy chord book to pass the time. We didn't have cable TV or anything. And that just became playing with some friends and my brother, and people had asked us to play for things. And I always just joked I would stick with it. As long as it kept growing, and it just kept growing. After college, I ended up moving to Minneapolis. I mean, our drummer was Michael Bland, who was Prince's drummer in the New Power Generation, and we worked with, we shared a practice space with Soul Asylum, and I wrote songs with Phil Solem, who wrote "I'll Be There for You," the Friends theme. He was in the Rembrandts, and we just somehow got shoved into this community of musical aliens in Minneapolis, and it was a wild rip for about 10 years. That's what we did.
You said, did you say Prince's drummer was in your band?
He became our producer, and then he's like, I'm going to play drums for you. I mean, he didn't play every show, but a lot of the shows he was there. And I mean, geez, I remember one time we were going from Madison to North Dakota to play a show, and he got a phone call. Boy, I hope I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here. He got a phone call from John Mayer. And John Mayer was asking him to play in his band. And I'm driving, listening to this conversation. And Mike's like, no, thanks, man. No, I appreciate it.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, who was that? And he goes, that was John Mayer. And I'm like, dude, we are driving a crappy van to North Dakota. Why aren't you taking that gig? And he just said, I don't want to play Your Body's a Wonderland every night, you know? And so he was just a buddy, and it was amazing to be around that much genius and just absorb it. It was really cool.
What was the name of your band?
Our band's name was Catch Penny.
Oh yeah,
we did 3 albums. They're out there.
Yeah. They are out there. I remember that. I remember that.
I'd be shocked if you did, but thank you.
I promise you, I do. And then
we never signed a record deal. We always had these really cool. I was always a marketing and business guy, and we just figured out how to make it work without signing a slavery contract. So we never got super famous, but. Man, I mean, we sang the national anthem at a NASCAR race. Was 175,000 people, and
it's nuts.
We'd play big shows, 50,000, 90,000, and the next day we'd be playing in front of 30 people, and it was just a wild ride the whole way.
And then, how'd you get hooked up with the military?
Yeah, so we were at South by Southwest playing with a band, and some dudes with high and tight.
Yeah, I mean, you say you play in front of 30 people a lot, but I mean, you're playing South by Southwest. I mean, NASCAR. I mean, you guys were doing it.
Well, that was the thing about music is with most things in life, like, hey, man, if you're going to go to the combine and you know what your 40 is, and you can make those your draft pick's going to be high.
Sure.
With music, it's completely arbitrary. You could write the most perfect song of all time, and some 13-year-old has some beat they created in their basement, and suddenly they become a star. And that was really hard for me.
I'm sure.
So we were just from one thing to another, but we were working at it. And, I was kind of getting tired of it. And these guys said, hey, you ever thought about playing overseas for the troops? And I said, let's go. This would be awesome. So, one trip turned into 39 when it was all said and done. My brother Zach, we managed a lot of the entertainment during Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. So we went over, kind of an interesting story. We went over the first time. It was a really good time, and they said, hey, I want you to come back. And the second trip over, I learned that there was like 300 bases not getting entertainment. And the reason being they were using these old speaker systems from a place out of Kuwait, like these old Motley Crue-sized speakers that would only fit into like a C-130 or a C-17, which meant, and they couldn't convoy to these little bases, all these forward operating bases and joint security stations. And then these bases didn't have landing strips, so the planes couldn't land. So my brother and I went back and worked with the guys and created a PA system that fit into a Black Hawk helicopter, which allowed us to hit all these bases. And that just was a can of worms. And all of a sudden we were, living at Camp Victory once a month and flying out to 3 or 4 FOBs every day, playing shows and returning. It was just a crazy experience. I mean, I spent my 30th birthday in Saddam's bedroom. They gave me his bedroom as
I read that. How the hell did that happen?
We just based out of Camp Victory, out of a place called the JVB. Many military guys listening are probably familiar. And there was just, there was the room that was Saddam's room when he was there. And usually that was reserved for whoever high-ranking officials came through. That night, I guess there was no high-ranking officials, just us. And they heard it was my birthday. And they said, hey, why don't you take the room for the night? So just one of those crazy experiences where you kind of look around and go, how the heck did I get here? This is wild, but pretty fun.
And then you started, I read you started doing the Crispin cider.
Yeah, so when I was home, it was weird because we'd be in Iraq for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'd be home for 2 or 3 weeks back and forth. And Joe Herron was kind of a mentor of mine back in Minneapolis. He had sold a company and was starting a new hard apple cider company. He said, hey, come start this with me. So when I was home, I'd work up in his attic, and we built that brand up. I was acquired by a subsidiary of Miller Coors after a handful of years. Yeah. And just another kind of crazy experience that happened over like a 3 or 4 year period while I was still going overseas. So really thankful for that too. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to add to that. It was just a wild.
We had that. We had that as an option at my wedding.
Oh, you did? No kidding.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, I love this stuff.
It was. I think it was kind of just coming out a little bit too, and we got a bunch of it. But I liked it. It
Was that in Chicago?
Nashville.
Nashville. So when we started, we ended up buying a cidery in north of Sacramento, California. We thought, so we're in Minneapolis. We thought it was going to take off in California. We bought this place up there because we didn't want to be shipping glass back and forth. And Chicago and south is where it really took off. So we ended up shipping it back from California instead of just from Minneapolis, which was kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. But that was really where it took off.
It was hot down here. Yeah, I mean, you guys would have saved a lot of costs if you kept it in Minneapolis. I imagine.
I know. You can just never totally plan everything, right? Like you make your best guess, and then you roll with it. Yeah. Thanks for supporting us. I appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. What'd you do with Harley?
I was an intern with Harley Davidson in college, and then stayed close with those guys. When we started doing the military tours, I went back to my contacts and just said, "Hey guys, like, there's Harley bases everywhere we're going. Like, we should be tying this in, and do you guys want to be a part of it?" And so Harley got involved, and I mean, we gave away a couple motorcycles during the tours we were doing for the troops.
Sure.
We'd give away leather jackets and T-shirts, and that kind of went from kind of them supporting that to once the Iraq stuff drew down, they said, "Hey, we've got other projects we'd love to have your brain on." And whether it was 105th anniversary or whatnot, they'd call us in to kind of go, how would young adults think about this? What could we do to pull in those types and think about it? I was working with GoPro at the time as well, and we did some really fun marketing stuff. One trip we went from Seattle to Sturgis on a bunch of new Harleys with a bunch of GoPro athletes, and kind of had a bunch of adventures along the way. And it's just always kind of thinking about, I guess everything in life's been about storytelling and about kind of experiences and encouraging people to get out there and live full lives. And so that was just another chapter, I guess, in this diverse story.
Do you still have you got bikes still?
I've got a Road Glide Custom.
Okay.
I've had a lot of bikes in my life. I got to the point where I was getting faster and faster, and I had a moment one day where I was like, I'm gonna kill myself. Yeah. So I sold the fast ones and bought a big cruiser. Yeah. And now I just enjoy going slow on that thing.
That's what I have.
I love bikes.
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. I've got 3 Harleys. But I catch myself the same thing. We're going through curves and stuff, and I'm like, let's not die on a motorcycle. I don't think it's worth it going, 80 through a curve, an S curve. It's like, let's just slow down and just enjoy it. So that's kind of what I do now.
Those bikes are getting so good that you feel like you're a better rider than you are. That's the problem.
Oh, right? Yeah. They do it. They're so smooth. I mean, I've got a 2020 Road Glide as well. And it's like butter. Just, you can put that thing on its side.
You can. They race them now. I mean, they literally race them on trucks.
I saw that.
Bagger races.
It's nuts. And they're only going to get bigger and better. So, I mean, it is what it is, but yeah.
Yeah, man. It's fun. You just got to, just like everything in life, you got to just take a step back and keep it between the lines a little. But
exactly.
Uncut with Jay Cutler is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive helps you get a great rate on car insurance, even if it's not with them. They have this nifty comparison tool that puts rates side by side, so you choose a rate and coverages that work for you. Say you're interested in lowering your rate on your car insurance, visit Progressive.com to get a quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's rate, and then their tool will provide options from other companies, all lined up and easy to compare. So that all you have to do is choose the rate and coverages you like. Progressive gives you options so you can make the best choice for you. You could be looking forward to saving money in the near future. More money for, say, a pair of noise-canceling headphones, an Instapot, more puzzles, whatever brings you joy. Get a quote today at Progressive.com. It's one small step you can do today that can make a big impact on your budget tomorrow. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
So you're done with, you're out of Iraq, you're Harley, Crispin, you're doing all this stuff. Are you hunting during this period, or?
That's interesting. I grew up in Wisconsin, and that's a lot of whitetail hunting.
Sure.
Right? I didn't love it.
I grew up in Indiana, so I know all about Midwest whitetail, just sitting in the stand and waiting.
Yeah, when you're 15 or 16, and it's like 0 degrees out, and you're supposed to get up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and walk out to a stand and sit there in hopes of something walking by. That's not a compelling proposition for me at that age. Exactly. So I did it. I hunted a little, but it was never a part of me like it is now. And it really took until I was living in California. I just was trying to feel alive. I didn't like my existence out there. There wasn't a lot of nature. And I went to Montana for a few weeks elk hunting, and it just kind of relit that DNA, that piece of DNA that, you know, is the hunter in you. So
where at? Was it bow, gun?
Bow. I mean, I hunt. I know we have mutual friends with Christensen Arms.
Yep.
I work with those guys a lot. Do some fun stuff with them.
I saw that.
I love bow hunting.
Yeah.
This was a bow hunt. And I mean, I'm sure you've had those experiences, but when you're in the woods and you're communicating with an 800-pound animal and they come in and looking for a fight, it's hard to just kind of not want to feel that more frequently. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah. I mean, the rut with elk, I mean, cause I grew up whitetail hunting, turkey hunting. And I remember as a kid, like my dad made this, I mean, it was basically a fort in the tree, and I'm 9-10 years old, and we're out there, and it's, you know, it's probably 2-3 degrees, and it starts snowing, and I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. And I look at my dad, I'm like, look, there's no deer coming out here. Like, we need to get down. He's like, you're probably right. And, you know, obviously I went back and forth, but then, you know, playing football and being in the fall, it was just hard for me to get out there. And then once I was done, or kind of towards the end, I started elk hunting in Montana, and that first time I went out there for the rut, I was like, this is it.
Yeah. And I haven't met a single person that I've taken elk hunting that hasn't immediately like let it consume their life. I mean, whether it's the Joe Rogan effect or whatever, it's just, man, people get out there and they see it once and they're like, I had no idea. Like this is real life. I mean, we're so desensitized, we're so comfortable, and to hike up a mountain and interact with those animals it's one of my favorite things to do and to talk about and think about.
It really is. I was like, I think my second time out in Montana, we had a couple buddies, and the guy behind me was calling, and we're in the timber. There's kind of a big field, but I mean, we're on a slant like this. And we're in the timber, and you know there's 2 or 3 we're calling, and one starts coming through, and there's an opening about 30 yards. I'm like, you know, that's my shot. That's the spot. And he's coming. I'm like, all right, here we go. And then, I mean, there's all this underbrush and just shit here. And this damn thing literally just, I mean, goes straight through it. I mean, right towards me. And he's getting closer and closer and closer. I'm like, what in the hell am I going to do now? So I just kind of draw, and his head's down, and he keeps coming and coming and coming. And then I kind of stop my foot, and he's 8 feet from me. He looks up, and I'm just like, uh-oh, what we do now? And he took off, and like he went like 50 yards through some stuff. I let one fly, went right over its back. But I was like, that was when I was hooked before that. But that experience, I was like, all right, this is 100% it.
Oh man, I mean, you know, we could tell probably hunting stories for 5 hours here.
Yes.
I'll tell you one this year. I was hunting this plot of land, and I'd been in bulls every day, and there was this one big bull, and I was out ranging kind of this far hillside, and I hear a bugle behind me, and I'm like, I think that's him. You get to like hear their voices. You kind of know them, you know?
Oh yeah.
And I went back in, and same with you. Bow hunting's hard, right? You probably want to take a shot within 60, 70 yards.
Yeah.
Preferably 30, 40.
Yep.
You've got to have an open lane, no brush. I see this bull coming in. I freeze. It's the big guy. He walks in. He's at, I can't remember now, 67 yards? No, 76 yards.
Yeah.
He walks in, spins, and lays down facing me. And I'm just standing there frozen. And for I slowly got down to my knees, and the sun's going down. I'm like, what do I do? So I decided to belly crawl to this monster and try to get a shot and get around. So for the next hour, I'm like moving as slow as a glacier trying to get in to get a shot. And I get to where I'm like, man, I'm close enough. And I stand up.
Yeah.
And that bull had gotten up and left, and I never heard him.
Oh,
no. I mean, I was using every ounce of my talent to like close the gap. And that bull just was like, I see you. I'm up. I'm out of here. They're smart, man. It's fun.
Oh, they're so smart, and they're like ghosts too. Like you said, like they can just be there, and then next second, gone. It's like where the hell did he just go?
You think how much noise you make walking through the woods, and they are 5 times bigger than you, and a fifth as loud. It's incredible.
Yes, it really is incredible. So you're in California. You're not really liking it. Is that whenever you started Uncharted?
Yeah, Uncharted. Yeah. So I've got a lot of these outdoor experiences, and
Sure.
I'm working kind of a tech company. I've got this white corner office in Orange County, and it just didn't feel fulfilling. And I was like, I need to find something else. And I was going to Colorado to go skiing one New Year's, and my buddies were out there. There's a storm coming. I left Orange County, and a couple hours in, it snowed like 2 inches, and I sat for 8 hours in traffic. And growing up in the Midwest, 2 inches of snow it didn't even snow, right? I mean, you don't think about it. But here I am stuck, and I'm like, I'm getting more and more frustrated as my friends are sending me powder shots and where are yous. And I'm in an F-150 with all my gear, and I would be doing 70 if there weren't people in front of me. And it just kind of stuck with me, like, wow, if this causes this much chaos, if 2 inches of snow can stop the world around me and trap me, I was prepared. What happens if something real happens? What if something serious happens? So, I was always interested in the outdoor space. It's hard to compete with just hunting gear, outdoors gear. There's people doing that at a high level. And I was like, wow, there's an opportunity here with, building some products to help people navigate emergencies. There was nothing cool out there. There was nothing high quality. Everything you'd find was in a military surplus store, and it was dusty in the back corner and not great. So it put me down a path, and I'm still on that path today.
What was the first? So I mean, so explain it to the viewers. I've known about it, but I mean, give us a rundown of kind of what it entails.
So the first thing I did was I started looking at large scale emergencies, earthquakes, tsunamis, things like that. And so I developed what we call the 72. It's a 72-hour kit. People probably hear 72 hours a lot. The reason being, historically, 95% of survival situations. So that's from September 11th to a car wreck. Within 72 hours, help has arrived. But those first 72 hours are really on you. Can you take care of yourself? Can you take care of your family? So I was like, well, this is interesting. Why don't we figure out how to build the best 72-hour kit we possibly can? And I went to friends of mine that were special forces guys and bush pilots, and friends of mine that guide on Everest and K2 and doctors. And I said, hey, you're an expert. I don't want to know what you have for you. What would you give your 10-year-old son if you weren't home and something happened, like something that somebody with that little experience could use and could change a game? And so we worked on that for a year. I got to a place where they were all like, I would totally buy this product. And then I kind of burnt the ships and put a lot of my life savings into ordering inventory and started the business up. And that's where we started.
Two questions. Were you like sourcing and building the bag, or were you like outsourcing that and like modifying it? Like how did that process work?
I mean, I think the first step was understanding kind of reverse engineering emergencies, like what happens, right? Like people are usually buying these kits in like an REI and it's comfortable, but the reality is they're using them when the room is full of smoke, or they're hanging upside down in their car with a broken arm, right? Yep. So adrenaline's pumping because they're not in these situations ever. So it was all about not only high quality products, but organization and guidance. And so it was kind of working backwards, like, okay, if we're in this situation, like what are the right tools and how easy can you get to them? And so we designed, parts of the kit, and parts of the kit we outsourced. I didn't need to build a new Mylar blanket. Those exist and they work well. Yeah. So it was a combination of things. Now, 5 years down the road, we're building most of what's in the kit. We've had the resources and the time to keep evolving and improving. So it's not just a knife, but it's a knife that has a glass breaker and a bottle opener and a seatbelt cutter, And so, it was assembling the kit, but it was also color coordination and instruction. And, at the end of the day, it was kind of that guided voice. So you open our bag up and it says, okay, you're cold, step 1, step 2, step 3. Yeah. And the psychological side of that is when things start improving, your adrenaline goes down, and then you can make better decisions because you're not feeling this adrenaline rush of anxiety. So it was as much the tools as it was about education and guidance, and that's kind of been a big part of the DNA of our brand and in all the products we build now.
That's awesome. You said it a second ago, and I was listening to a couple other podcasts you did here recently, but you said you burnt the ships, and I really like that. I've said, and I've heard other people say, no plan B, just plan A, which I think you said that. But burnt the ships, I liked that one. Have you always kind of used that, or?
I have. That kind of goes back to that, that old war thing where they dump the troops off and they burn the ships, so they have to fight their way through. I mean, that's the analogy.
Back.
And I think when you're starting something, when you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times people kind of try it until it gets hard, and they back out and they've wasted time. And I think with most situations, you probably would have made it if you just tried a little harder. So, I'm not saying be cavalier and totally always go all the chips in, but if you really believe in something and you want to make it work, I think it's really important to be committed to it. And for me, that was like I said, putting a large part of my life savings into ordering inventory and being like, okay, well, either I've got toilet paper, like wet wipes for the rest of my life, or I'm going to sell these things, when those boxes show up in your apartment, and
it's scary.
It feels very real. It's scary, but it also it forces you to work a little harder, a little smarter, and to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, it motivates the hell out of you. Was ever a point where you're like, oh shit, I messed up. This isn't going to work?
That happens like once a month. Yeah. I mean, even today, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always, I told my team, the other day in a meeting, I was like, someday we're going to pray for challenges this small. Right now we're fighting these things, and as we keep growing, the challenges get bigger and harder.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
It's like a video game, right? It's probably like football. It's like, man, you look back at the beginning of your career, and things were really hard for you then. It's like, man, I wish I could face those things again.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, you just have to keep getting stronger and smarter and finding a way forward. And every day I have a buddy that has a bike company called Ventum, my buddy Dia, and we meet all the time and kind of, I don't want to say cry on each other's shoulders, but vent a little. And, we always say, hey, you just got to stay alive another day. The more days you stack where you're staying alive, the harder it is to kill you. And sometimes that's really all it comes down to. People always see the big success stories, but there's a lot of grinding in the dark for every successful person I've ever met.
Oh, that's all it is. I mean, it's grind, and it's hard. It's hard as hell to keep doing that day after day after day.
It is.
But
it is.
It is what it is. And you're going to just keep running into bigger problems. So, how did Shark Tank come about?
Shark Tank was fun. So, back to Iraq, we expanded beyond our band. We're doing other stuff. I did this thing called Bikes Over Baghdad, where I met up with a group that has this thing called Camp Woodward. They do action sports camps, and this guy Nate Wessel. And I was like, hey, I'm looking at the troops over there, and they are putting Monster Energy stickers on everything, and they like jumping stuff and shooting stuff. I'm like, this is an action sports crowd. Like, what can we do? So Nate and I came up with this concept to build a thing called Bikes Over Baghdad, where we would build skate parks at bases, and we took over all the X Games BMX riders to put shows on. One of those guys' name was Mike Escamilla, and Mike's been a stuntman. He was on LA Inc. He's had his own TV show. He's been in Hollywood a lot, as well as being an amazing BMX rider. And we've been good friends. When I was building the first products, he was one of the people I consulted with a lot. He has a lot of great ideas when it comes to product design. And he also had an agent, and it was like, man, we should get on Shark Tank. And his agent was able to get us on the phone with the casting director for Shark Tank, Mindy Zemrick. And Mindy was kind enough to take the call, and she said, hey guys, just like everyone else, make a tape and send it in. And and she's like, but I'll promise to watch it if you send it in. So that was kind of the only guarantee we got. But we made a super funny video. We kind of went overboard on it. Ended up on the show, and it was a really, really
what year
fun
was
experience. It was season 9, and we were the very first episode.
Oh, wow.
So what are they on now? 12 or 13? So
yeah, it's insane what they're at right now.
Yeah. I think it really peaked probably the year before we went on. I'm glad we got on. We did. But it was fun, man. And it was like a 6-month process from when he submitted the tape to all these paperwork and background checks and filming all these videos to send in for the producers to watch. And then we'd fly out. And I mean, that whole story, I'm under some NDAs. I don't know how much I can talk about, but it was, we thought we were going to be on at a certain time. Then it got bumped up a day. And then, we're sitting in the green room ready to go. And they're like, oh, we're going to send you home. We're out of time. Then it's like, oh, change your mind. Go now. It was like.
I've heard that, a lot of times that they'll make the deal on TV, and then once it's off TV, once they get out, then they start working it out, and a lot of times it doesn't work out how you thought it was going to work out on the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's speed dating, right? And
Yeah.
then you do your due diligence afterwards. And we didn't actually, we got a deal on the show for twice what we were asking for. We didn't actually reach a deal afterwards with Robert Hertzefek, who is the guy that agreed to do the deal. And I can't really talk about that too much, except that that happens. But for me, I always went into that as this is not an investment. This is a marketing opportunity.
Marketing. Yeah, it's just marketing. It's straight marketing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll take the money if the deal's there. But at the end of the day, I wanted to make sure our brand was portrayed in the right light, and we got a lot of exposure around it. And it was amazing. It was we have a Shopify website, and watching those sales notifications come in was probably the greatest moment of my life. I mean, it was just as fast as my screen could refresh.
Did you guys sell out?
Yeah, I mean, there was no way we actually sold in about 48 hours, triple what they estimated we would. And we had about enough inventory for about 80% of what we thought we would sell. So then it's a game of communicating and getting stuff in as fast as we could. But there's always resource crunches when you're starting. And that was just, a good problem to have.
Yeah. Do you view selling? I mean, obviously you want to have product. Do you view selling out as a kind of a positive though?
I think selling out is better than sitting on a ton of inventory.
Exactly.
It's still a problem. I mean, you're leaving money on the table.
Absolutely. You're creating demand, I suppose, in a way.
Right. And there's ways to, hey, we sold out, get in line. That happens a lot of times. We have some products that continually sell out, and we can't get them fast enough. There's microchip issues, or we have a collaboration with Yeti, and sometimes, they have issues with getting inventory in, and then it just comes down to communication with your customer and staying attached to them, and maybe offer them a little discount to hang on, and just making the most of it. But I much prefer those problems versus, hey man, we got 1,000 of these things in the warehouse that haven't moved. What are we going to do?
Yeah. How the hell are we going to sell these?
Right. Exactly. Dead stop.
Is a supply chain problem right now affecting you guys, or are you guys kind of ahead of it?
Yeah, it affects everyone. We've got some really smart guys on our team that have done a really nice job with staying on top of it. We've had a couple issues, but it's not been a massive issue. That said, when COVID first hit, I mean that year we doubled our sales, but didn't have inventory for 7 months. Just to give you an idea of how quickly the demand ramped up. So I don't think you could ever be fully prepared, but I'm pretty proud of the job we've done with staying in stock. And I mean, we're an emergency preparedness company. We should be kind of looking at trends and trying to stay ahead of that stuff, right? If we didn't see that coming, then maybe we're not the right group to talk to in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, you've said it a few times, and I had it written down in my notes. But you really like your team. You're proud of your team. How did you build that team? How'd that happen? How do you pick those people?
That's one of the biggest probably struggles and challenges I've had over the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, I've had friends that have stolen and cheated. When you start, you bring in whoever's around you that's going to work for cheap, right?
Sure.
And that never ends up well. And we've continually done our best to hire, and I think you just have to keep kind of weeding out the pieces that don't work and keep building the team. It's probably like a sports team, right?
Yeah.
It's just sometimes it's not the person, it's just not a good fit. Sometimes you get a rock star and you need to build some supporting cast around them. And we've got about 10 people working at the company right now, day to day, a lot of consultants on the outside. And I have a lot of confidence in all of them, but it's taken 5 years to get there, and we're continually trying to add new pieces. So I don't have the answers. I've made a lot of mistakes around that. I'm just really thankful for what we have in the office right now.
When you make a mistake on a hire, are you do you try to work with them and steer them in the right direction, or are you just kind of this isn't working, rip the Band-Aid off, let's try again? Obviously, there's probably goes both ways, and there's probably a middle ground, but some people are extremes.
And I'm a bit of a wimp. I hate having those conversations, that you're fired conversations. Yeah. So I would much rather see somebody succeed and work with them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times in your gut, you just know it's not going to work out, and you're trying to just kind of pray that it's going to turn around.
Yeah.
But we try everything. But I'm not the guy that walks in and just fires a person on Monday to like send a message. That's not me. So I work hard to make everybody successful, and when it's not, I think you have to fail fast and make the decision and move on. I mean, that's the way it is.
So where's Uncharted going now? I mean, are you guys just trying to create new products? I mean, you guys are you guys are kind of everywhere though now. I mean, I saw you guys on you guys are in Dick's. I mean, you guys are all over the map.
Yeah, we've opened a lot of retail lately. Listen, if there's a hurricane hitting Miami in 24 hours, you don't want to order something online and wait 3 days for it, right? Yeah. So that was an important part of our strategy from both a visibility and kind of touch point standpoint, but also just getting products to customers when they need them. So we were D2C up until last year, just online, and now we've expanded into retail. We've got a handful of new products we're launching, and just trying to grow. I mean, I think the hardest thing for us is really creating awareness around the need. My buddy Cassidy Phillips started Trigger Point, the foam roller company. Yep. And he called me when I started this, and he said, you and I are in the same business of prevention. He's like, the hardest thing I had to do was convince people to buy these things and foam roll before they had the hammy pull, right? Yeah. And that's a very good analogy to kind of what we're doing. It's definitely helped the last couple of years with everything going on, but people don't think about bad things happening until bad things happen.
Exactly.
And fixing that, solving for that is a big thing in growing our business. So we spend a lot of time around that. We're building new content and doing all sorts of stuff to help kind of get that message across.
Yes, I mean, social media is huge now, and content, and like people are, that's where they're kind of getting most of their information. It seems like these days.
Man, YouTube is like the biggest instruction manual in the world.
It really is.
I mean, anytime I can't figure something out, most times I'm going to YouTube because somebody has shown you how to whether it's do something in Photoshop or fix something on your car. It's like it's all there. I put in a light bar in my truck the other day, and there was a video of a guy putting that exact light bar in my exact truck. It's like amazing, It's incredible.
We were trying to figure out this morning why some coffee beans are oily and some aren't. So I was like, let's YouTube it. Guy did
what are they?
Darker roast beans usually have more lipids in them, and when it roasts, those come out and get a little bit oily. If you over roast beans, they can get really that oily ones. Like your breakfast blend and some of your lighter roast usually look drier. But if
that's interesting.
But if they sit, if they sit in your coffee machine or your whatever you store them in for extended period of time, oxygen gets to them. Those lipids, or I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, those kind of come out and they'll eventually get oily. But sometimes you get like that dark roast you open it and they're just, there's oil all over.
Looks like elk shit.
Exactly. It's exactly what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. But that's kind of just the nature of those beans. But
that's interesting.
Fascinating stuff. YouTube.
YouTube. There you go. I'd never thought that about coffee either, too. It's funny how something's so ingrained in your life. And like, I definitely, when you said that, I'm like, I know exactly what you mean, but I've never thought about it.
So what's your new favorite? Well, what's your favorite ever thing you guys have produced, and what's your new favorite product coming out?
Boy,
it's probably
we just came.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, we just came out with a product we call the Park Pack, and if you'd have told me I was making a fanny pack 5 years ago,
it's the one with the bottles on both sides, right?
Yeah. So I mountain bike, I run, I hunt, I'm hiking through the mountains. A lot of times you don't need a backpack, and if you do, and backpacks are sweaty. It's like covering a big part of your back where you breathe and you let a lot of moisture out of your body, and it's just cumbersome. And my goal is always like, how do we convince people to carry with them, a little first aid, a little gear repair in a way that doesn't impede their experience. Yeah. You don't want to mountain bike with a 20-pound backpack. You don't want to run with anything, right? No. And so hip packs are like a great idea, but they've always just not fit well, and they were crappy. And we had some really great designers at our disposal, and I was like, can we make one of these things that just feels like a kidney belt when you're squatting, like something that's just as supportive? Sure. And that was kind of the beginning of the idea. Like, we can put some first aid in there, whatever else. And it evolved into this little pack that, when I was elk hunting, I had I had my bugle tube in one side, a water bottle on the other. I've got an extra layer, a little food and water.
Yeah.
And like, that's all I needed if I was day hunting for my truck.
Sure.
And you're not banging your backpack on trees. And then at the same time, I can switch it out.
And everything's kind of everything's right in front of you too.
Yeah, you spin it around. It's all right there. You got a little tray.
Yep.
And then I can mountain bike with it. I can fly fish with it. We have all these adapters for it. And it's awesome, man. It's like a great thing just to keep in the back of your truck, and whatever the day brings. It works really well. Like, I really actually enjoy wearing it. So that just came out 2 weeks ago. I'm really loving that thing. My favorite product's always the new one we're working on.
Absolutely.
But those original survival kits, I really think we kind of changed the game. Like, when we launched it, we reimagined kind of what that space should be. There's a ton of copycats now, and whether people buy from us or somebody else, I feel like we've done a good job of our mission and making the world safer, because we kind of started something that a bunch of companies now are promoting, and every time somebody buys one, they're a little more equipped. So I'm proud of that as like a little legacy piece, that we kind of started a trend here that is growing, and hopefully can save a lot of lives over the years.
So where can people find Uncharted Supply?
Yeah, I mean, we spend a lot on advertising, so hopefully you type the name in and something's going to come up. But
it did when I type it in. So
good. Yeah, the website unchartedsupplyco.com. A lot of people get it confused with Uncharted, but it's Uncharted. Instagram's the same, Uncharted Supply Co. I'm at Christian Schauf. A lot of my social is making sure people know I'm the guy that should be kind of running this company. It's a lot of adventure stuff and testing products and whatnot. So, start there, and we're pretty receptive to any questions or anything else. Jay, I super appreciate the time, man. And
absolutely.
Got to get on some adventures. You let me know. I've got a ski trip coming up, a hut trip next week out of Aspen that
do you?
Maybe I should get you in on. Yeah, we're going way back to a hut on snowmobiles and ski touring around the mountains in the Elk Mountains. For a few days. So,
that is awesome. How's the snow in Park City right now?
Bad.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
We didn't have snow for 5-6 weeks. There was a high pressure system sitting over us, but Colorado is getting pounded right now. So we're going to go out there next week and try to make up for it. But,
I saw some lines in Breck this past week, and it was brutal.
Oh man, Vail Resorts has a big problem on their hand. They've sold 70% more Epic passes this year, and a lot of the lifts weren't open because of staffing or snow, and
trying to make
Park
up
City,
for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, hours and hours of lift lines. That's why we take the snowmobiles out and get way back in the woods where there are no lift lines.
It's no fun. I mean, I love skiing, but I mean, it's no fun if you're waiting in lift lines for an hour. You might as well just go to the bar.
It's been good for the bars, probably. If anybody.
Exactly.
For sure.
All right. Well, I mean, you've got an amazing life. I'm really honestly jealous. It makes me. I gotta get my shit together at 38 and do some more fun stuff. But
I don't know, man. I think your life's been pretty good.
Oh, it has been good. But I gotta do some more adventures, because you've done some fun stuff. But it looks like you found an awesome purpose, and I mean, you guys are doing some amazing stuff. So I wish you guys the best of luck, and we'll stay in touch.
Appreciate it, Jay. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Okay, we got Christian back. We talked over the weekend. This is part 2. That's why we're dressed a little bit differently. But I mean, there's some crazy shit happening in the world. Your company and yourself are kind of involved in some of this stuff and have some insight in kind of how to prepare for these things. Heaven forbid some of these things happen, but with Russia and Ukraine and, the nuclear situation that could possibly happen in the war, and us getting involved in the war, and maybe us, somehow something happening on U.S. soil. It's all kind of out there right now.
It's a wild time, man. I mean, we started this company 6 years ago now, and when I started it, I was just looking at trends, and I'm like, man, we are coming towards something quickly, whether it's war or natural disaster or whatever. I mean, that I'm not trying to jump on the bandwagon last minute here. We've been kind of thinking about this for over half a decade. So, yeah, man, I reached out and was like, boy, there's probably a lot we could talk about here. I think it's important to say, like, I'm not a prepper. I'm not like a guy that has a bunker. I'm a guy that's been to Iraq 39 times. I grew up on a farm. I hunt, I fish, and most times you self-rescue in those situations, right? And so you think ahead, and And it doesn't take a lot to be ready for stuff. So I just thought, gosh, given your listeners and everything going on, and
Sure.
we had this conversation, it might be fun just to dive in a little bit on how people should think about it, what they could do, what helps them get down the road, at least partway to being, self-sufficient with so much uncertainty going on.
Absolutely. And I think we'll start off like you were talking about, you guys do a lot of Google and Facebook stuff, and the search engines now, and how many hits are on nuclear war these days.
Yeah, so we have a business that started as an online store, and with that you buy ads on Facebook and Google and Instagram and all that, YouTube. So we watch a lot of data points. One of the tools we use is Google Trends, and like in the last 2 weeks, as an example, which I told you, nuclear war was like around a 13, and that's on a scale of 1 to 100. And last 2 Thursdays ago, when Ukraine was invaded, it went to 100, which means that's the highest kind of
Can't go any higher.
ranking it can get. Yeah. So there's a lot of people that are freaking out. And, am I sitting here saying, hey, we need to prep for nuclear war? No, I think the odds of something like that happening are pretty slim. But even in planning for that, you're kind of ready for anything, So there's just so many things we should be paying attention to. And gosh, we saw people freak out about toilet paper about a year ago. And if you had 2 weeks earlier gone to the grocery store and got the toilet paper you needed, you don't have to be in that situation. So that's just how I think about stuff, getting ahead of it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And then you were talking about communication and our energy dependence, and like that's a huge issue right now. I mean, I feel like everyone's talking about gas, everyone's talking about the pipeline, us getting gas from Russia.
Yeah, I mean that's what's likely to happen. Russia keeps saying they're going to retaliate in some way to anybody that jumps in. And whether they do or they don't, who knows? But the way they would likely be, I mean, listen, we're buying what it was like $50 million in oil every day from Russia.
Yeah.
Gas prices are going up. They could easily just turn that off. I don't think they'll want to because they need that money. But, whether it's that or it's cyber attacks, we've heard about Russian collusion for years. I mean, I've spent a lot of time with guys in the military that focus on this stuff, and every country has the ability to do whatever they want to another, and that's kind of what's keeping everybody at arms. But you get a guy like Putin whose back is against the wall, and if he doesn't win, he's probably out of power at the least. And who knows what buttons he's going to push, right? So, that's where I tell people, it's like, it doesn't take much, but having some extra gas, taking some money out, not just like a bunch of $100 bills, but like get some 1s and 5s. You can barter with people just in case, if there's a cyber attack and suddenly Wells Fargo is like, hey, we're going to shut down until we figure this out because we don't know what's going on. Well, at least you've got a way to do business and to operate and to buy stuff in the short term. And my guess is it's like a 1 to 2 week thing. If something like this happens, this isn't like, we're not being blasted back to the caveman days. But just having a little bit of stuff, I think, goes a long ways.
It is scary to think like how people like you need these. Everyone, your entire world's on these things, and TVs, and email and credit cards. Like, there's I guarantee half the people in this office probably they have zero cash on them right now.
I'm in my house. I have some, but I don't carry cash ever anymore.
No one does.
To that point with the phone, like, you remember when Instagram went down for like a day about
people
6 or 8 months ago?
Lost their minds.
We're kind of in World War III, and Western culture is responding with memes. That's all most people know how to do is communicate through there. So imagine not only that goes out, but you don't have access to your bank account, and the news isn't working. And I almost feel like I'm like drinking the Kool-Aid too hard saying that back, but these are real things that I think some simple preparation gets you a long ways down to being ready for it.
No, I don't think so. I think we live in this insulated world in the U.S., like where we think like, we're invincible. We just go carry about our day all the time. And like, I think we watch the news in Russia and Ukraine. We're like, no way that could possibly happen here. And knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't. But we're dealing with, it's a different age now. Putin's a different character. Doesn't really seem like, the people running our country are able to control him. So, you just never know. It's you don't want to go down the rabbit hole too much, but it's not the farthest fetched thing that could happen.
No, it's really not. And again, like I don't need to go through a big checklist of things here today. I can tell you on our website, we sell survival kits, but we have a blog on here's how you should build one, and here's why. I just wrote a blog. Actually, I repurposed it. It was from 2020 when that Hawaiian missile thing happened. But there are ways to survive if there's a nuclear bomb. Now, if you're within the blast zone, forget about it.
Okay, let's like, what are they? I want to hear this.
Yeah, this is really interesting because I kind of had the same impression. I'm like, if a nuke goes off, isn't it just everybody dies? That's it, like full stop.
Yeah.
I've researched this, and somebody can probably check me in the minutia. But generally speaking, if you're far enough away to see a blast, you're not in the blast. You've got about 20 or 30 minutes to get somewhere, right? Those clouds go up. All the Chipotles and the Ford dealerships in the 2 or 3 mile blast zone is turned into nuclear fallout, right? Yeah. So that stuff's up in the air and it's coming down. And you've got 20 or 30 minutes to get somewhere. The best place a person can get is in a concrete or a brick building. That stuff absorbs that material really well. Really? And as most people know from like chemistry class, there's a half-life to nuclear radioactivity. So after 24 hours, 80% of the nuclear kind of whatever you call it, the radiation is gone.
Really? So
if you can find a place like that and you can hang out, I mean, after 72 hours, it's like single digits. That's still probably dangerous to go out somewhere where there's, that much radiation. But if you can hold off for a week, if you can just stay in a basement, if you've got water, if you've got some food, if you've got a way to like communicate and you can hang out, like it's survivable. So there's just simple things. I'm not saying you need a bunker that's 6 stories down. I'm saying you need enough food and water for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, a week,
and,
2 weeks.
Some stuff to, 2 weeks I think is a really good way. And I mean, if you've got some canned food and peanut butter and whatever else, it might not be comfortable, but I'm sure you've been on hunts before where the food got low and you're kind of like, putting weird stuff on weird stuff, but it's calories and you get through.
You just got to figure it out.
Right. So I mean, there's so many ways through things. And I think people are so dependent anymore. And I think that's always been our message is like, be the person that saves the day, whether it's your own or your family's, your neighbors or whatever. And it doesn't take a lot.
No, and I saw notice kind of said speed is your biggest ally, right? Like, I mean, get it done as fast as possible if something bad happens.
I mean, being prepared is you're already there, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to race everyone to the gas station before they run out. I mean, I used to live in Orange County, California, and I'd sit there and go, man, so you got the ocean on this side and you have like 3 highways out this side. And if somebody leaves 2 hours earlier than somebody else, that could be life or death given traffic and how the 405 looks on Thanksgiving, So speed is always an advantage. And if you've thought about this stuff and you know what you're going to do and you can turn it on instead of starting to plan when it happens, it's just such a huge advantage. And I again, this isn't like something I'm jumping on the last 2 weeks. I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years full time. And I'm always amazed how much people are unprepared and how little it would take to get them in just a completely better situation.
So money, small bills, extra gas.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if there's a run on gas or if, the grid shuts down or whatever and gas pumps just don't work, having gas is really good. I've got, 10 gallons in my garage, not a ton, but it's enough to, if things go down, it's going to help you get to town and back 4 or 5 more times if you need to, right? One of the things I love is I have a battery generator here with a solar panel. Yeah. I have those things out in my garage. They're plugged in, so if the grid goes down, they're at 100%. And then if it's not coming back on, I've got some really decent-sized solar panels out there that will recharge it. So mostly I would use that to keep like all my meat cold, if you have medication, all that stuff that is needs a cold temp. Let's say it's the middle of summer and the power goes out, like your food's going to spoil. But something that's simple, those things are $300, $400, $500 and you're good to go. So, that's something I can go down the list a little bit, extra food, medicine. If you've got a baby, the stuff that a baby would need or what kids would need. We sell survival kits, and those kits are designed to sustain life for 3 days. I keep one of those in my car. I always tell people, you could have the best thing in the world, but if you're in your car and you're 2 hours from your home and it's all at home, it doesn't do you any good, right? So, like some good running shoes in your car, like a little kit to kind of our kits have water filters, they've got food, they've got a beanie, goggles, gloves, Mylar blankets, just all the stuff you'd need to kind of manage, nothing crazy. But gosh, if you're stuck in the 405 and you're 10 miles from home and you got to go and you're wearing high heels, that's a lot different than if you have some Nikes on, right?
Exactly.
So it's just simple stuff, man.
It's common sense.
Yeah, we can talk about self-protection. People always ask me about guns.
Yeah.
I love guns. I have a ton of guns. I work with Christensen Arms like you do, and I really love those guys. If you're a person that's familiar with guns and you've had the training, I think you should have a firearm. But I don't think somebody that is inexperienced should just go out and buy guns either. This is where preparedness comes into play and learn. You have the time now. Nothing's happening. Think about these things, explore it, because gosh, once you really need it, it's too late. So
absolutely. And then you guys got all the blogs on your site and anything that anyone needs on these kind of topics, correct?
Yeah. People think it's counterintuitive to have a blog on how to build a survival kit when we sell them. But at the end of the day, our mission was to make the world a safer place. And whether people build their own or buy ours, I want that to be our legacy here. And we've got everything from the stuff on the nuclear stuff to how to build a bug out bag to generators to all that stuff. We've got a lot of education there, and a lot of really nice products. If we don't make stuff, we kind of help sell these generators and things like that. So you can find all the information there. And I just encourage people to think about where they're at and what they have on hand, what they need. It may just take a couple hours of driving around and getting stuff, but that might save the day down the road. Who knows?
Exactly. Well, hopefully we stay safe and this kind of this escalation dies down a little bit, but you never know. And you guys are the experts in it. So, I appreciate you walking through this with me for, another 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, man, we're here to help. If anybody wants to email, our customer service, if we don't have the answers, we have a team of experts, SEALs and guides on Everest and bush pilots and doctors and all these guys that have lived this their entire lives that I get answers from when we're unsure. I think it's an interesting time. I think we've left this kind of calm period. And gosh, think of what's happened in the last couple of years between COVID and fires and hurricanes and now Ukraine and the truckers in Canada. It's endless. And who knows what the monster at your door is going to be, but it just seems more and more likely that we're going to have to navigate something, and that's our mission here. So man, thanks for letting me get that out. I just felt it was an important thing to say.
Absolutely. Uncharted Supply Co. Check them out. They've got everything that you need. They'll answer any questions. They're like you said, they're here to help. Since we're going topical, one more thing. Where's Aaron Rodgers going?
I wondered if you could ask that, man. My perspective remains, I think he stays.
Yeah.
I see that they're moving a bunch of contracts around, and I don't understand all the dynamics of the football industry, but they're definitely trying to make some space. They've been very vocal about keeping him.
Yeah.
If I was going to sit over beers and talk about this, I would probably look at, if he goes somewhere else, I think he has to win, right? Because he's always said, "Hey, I don't have this or that," and I think it's almost safer in the long run to stay with the known entity and know that they're going to build around you. And they've gotten so close for several years in a row now. So I think all those things end up him sticking around. But what do you think? You know this way better than me, man.
Legacy. I think he stays. I think they're going to break the bank for him. I think the amount of dollars that he's about to make is going to be insane. Insane. I think he's a loyal guy. I think that his legacy means a lot to him. The people of Wisconsin and Green Bay specifically, I think he wants to be one of those guys that stays at one team. And honestly, I think his best chance at winning another Super Bowl is in Green Bay. Going somewhere else and starting over, all the relationships, all that stuff is just it just gets difficult. You're relearning stuff that that he's done for 17 years in Green Bay. So I think he stays, but crazier stuff's happened.
All of his best friends are there too, right?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Bakhtiari and
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll try to keep Devontae. I mean, they're going to probably franchise him, and then
Oh, yeah,
if
they're
Aaron
keeping
stays, they
him.
keep him, and if Aaron
Yeah.
leaves, they will trade him for a bunch of picks. I mean, that's the
so-
business, I guess. You've been through it.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's exactly what they do. He's comfortable. Pay him a shit ton of money, and try to win another one in the next 2-3 years.
So then, my question for you is, what do they do with Jordan Love?
Aaron didn't play for 3 years, so you just keep sitting him there. Or if
Just
somebody,
keep him.
if somebody wants to trade for him, trade him.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's like
Interesting.
it's just an asset you have there, and if someone wants him, you can have him. If not, that's your backup plan.
Yeah, for sure.
Much
Sounds
like being prepared, like you guys do.
Full circle. There we
Exactly.
went. Nice.
Awesome, Christian. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, I'll let you get back to skiing.
Right. Sounds good.
See you, bud. Okay, that's a wrap. We did a little two-parter. Did Christian, and then stuff happened in the world, and this is kind of, some of this stuff is his expertise. So we talked and thought we'd do another little segment on kind of preparation, and I like Christian said, like, we're not hoping this happens or thinking this happens, but this is the world we live in these days, and being prepared for about anything is not a bad thing. But that was a fun one. I mean, Christian's an unbelievable dude. Like you said, he's been all over the world, was in a band, played over in the Middle East, everywhere. Started this company, worked for Harley, the cider company I had at my wedding. Unbelievable hunter, skis, does everything. I need to hang out with him. I think he's a little bit older than me, but he's accomplished a ton. So it's cool to talk with him. UnchartedSupplyCo.com. They'll answer any questions you have, and they're like you said, they're kind of trying to make the world a better place and a safer place. So kudos to him. Awesome dude. I enjoyed that one. I hope you did too. He's got his take on Aaron Rodgers, which hopefully we'll all know what's happening there soon. And that's it. That's it from me. And hit me up Instagram, Twitter. Let me know. We've got some good ones coming up, I think. I think Greg Olson's coming on here soon. I don't know who else. I don't keep track that well. But let me know if anyone pops in your head that we got to do, and we'll see if we can't work it out. Thanks. Appreciate it.